Okay, I'm gonna do a very basic overview of how a sewage treatment plant works. Basically, an activated sludge type sewage treatment plant, which is the most common type now. I'm not going to go too far into some of the technologies that they've added onto the basic system these days, as far as taking care of nitrogen and other tertiary treatment and things like that. Basic sewage treatment plant. Okay, sewage keeps flowing downhill. Every now and then, if you got to get over a hill, you got a pump station, which is kind of a big tank, and when it fills to a certain level, pump kicks on, pumps it up over the hill, flows down the other side. Eventually it gets to your wastewater treatment plant. And when it gets there, end up in a wet well, and then it comes in. Usually they go through what they call a bar screen. And it's usually what they call a traveling type bar screen, which means basically you got like some sort of a conveyor belt looking thing that the water can pass through a mesh, but this conveyor belt thing stuff is plugging up that mesh. It's going up and dumping whatever it's catching into a dumpster or some other receptacle. That gets all your big rags and rocks and logs and whatever the hell else ends up in there. And you'd be surprised, even in a strictly sanitary sewer, you would be surprised what people manage to flush and it gets through there. All kinds of things. A lot of condoms and tampons and nasty things like that too. Sometimes junkies flush needles. You get a lot of stuff, but this, gets strained out and taken away and properly landfilled is technically hazardous, biologically contaminated waste, just like crap that comes from a hospital. So that comes out first. Then you just got basically poopy water. And by the time stuff gets there, everything's already kind of broken down a little bit in the sewer. It's not like you got a whole lot of floaters except for the rags and the plastic stuff. Everything biological as far as human waste is kind of just mixed with the water. So you got just really nasty, smelly water. And it basically goes into a tank. And in this tank, it's exposed to microbes. I don't want to try going into what microbes, because it's a whole biodiverse thing. And these things digest the nutrients, the human waste in the sewage, and that's the main thing in there. Even though there's a little bit of soap and all the things, the main thing in there is human waste, and these little just naturally occurring microbes eat it. That's what they feed on. And normally, to keep it going, you got to keep it aerated. And usually they'll have big air compressors that are blowing air into there. They keep it aerated, so there's plenty of oxygen to keep these guys going. They got oxygen, they got food, they just keep on going. And you've got a certain detention time in there. And you're basically making more microbes. So you end up with the stuff that settles to the bottom. They'll have skimmers coming across the top, taking off any kind of a scum, and then you got some stuff coming off the bottom. The stuff coming off the bottom, some of it gets recycled back to the beginning here. I missed a step. Yeah, you go from this aerated tank, you go to a clarifier where all these microbes settle out, basically. First it's just churned up and aerated, then it goes to a clarifier where it settles out. Over where it settles out, the microbes are being taken off the bottom as sludge, because basically everything in the nutrients in the water have been converted into microbes. They grew, they multiplied, they are the solids now. So these solids, they end up, a small portion of them goes back around to the beginning to, restart the process in that aeration tank. The rest of them get taken off to the side, and they dewater them. They kind of let them settle and thicken, and then that's what your sewage sludge is. You hear about sewage sludge or sewage solids. That's what it is. It's the microbes taken off, basically. And it can be treated different ways. Vermicomposting is something that's widely done in other countries. I only know of one place in Pennsylvania that's done that. It's over in the middle of the state, over by Lewistown. And, it works. There's got to be a way to treat the solids. The rest of it is just water at this point. You should be clear looking at this point, and it should be just about clean. All the nutrients are gone. Most of the pathogens are gone. They're just digested by the other microbes. Just about everything's gone. But to make it safe before it goes out into the world, it goes through either chlorine or UV disinfection to kill any kind of microbes that are in it. And then it is discharged normally to a stream or a river and goes from there. That's why sewage treatment plants are normally located on rivers and streams. So, comes in, they screen off all the plastic and rags and stuff, pump air into it, add some of this, they call it activated sludge. It's just these microbes coming back around, some of them. Add a little bit of the microbes in there. The microbes eat. They got plenty of air coming in because they got the air bubbling through from the air compressors. They multiply. They eat up everything that's in it. Then it goes over to the clarifier. It settles out. The microbes settle to the bottom. Any kind of oil or anything gets skimmed off the top. The excess microbes become sludge. The sludge gets quote unquote thickened, and that's where they dewater it. Sometimes they put it in places called an aerobic or an anaerobic digester. That's something off to the side, but that's where your sludge and your solids are, and the rest is just pretty much clean water at this point in time. It gets hit by some sort of disinfection. Normally it is chlorine or UV. Some places use ozone, but it's some sort of, disinfection, kill any kind of remaining microbes in it, any pathogens that might have made it through, and then it is discharged into the world again. It's actually discharged at a level where it's almost drinking water by that point. But yeah, a lot of people don't really know that the main part of sewage treatment is actually microbes. And part of why you got to do all that before it goes out into the world, not only to keep from contaminating the drinking water of the next guy downstream, is also that, if sewage goes out into the river, well, all the microbes live in the river. And without somebody, pumping a whole shitload of oxygen through the whole river with air compressors, the microbes take all the oxygen, kills all the fish and everything else, and you end up with a dead zone. So it's called biological oxygen demand. But yeah, so just a brief overview and explanation. I'll try to go into some of the individual pieces and parts in a little bit more detail in future videos, but just an overview for now.